Excellent. Well, hey, I'll just kick us off. I'll introduce my partner, Russ, and I. We're with Carson Wealth. We're a wealth management firm that offers kind of holistic financial planning. Our home office is in Omaha, Nebraska, and we've got roughly 138 partner offices across the country that specialize in all things wealth management, including education planning, which is what our discussion is about today. Just quick background on myself, born and raised in Cedar Rapids, been in wealth management for 18 years, and grad from the University of Iowa, and spent a couple years at Kirkwood before that, and married my high school sweetheart, and we've got 4 kids here in the Cedar Rapids area, and I have a freshman in high school now, so excited about that. The first week online has gone well so far, so we're it's going okay. So and Russ, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself, how long you've been in the industry and so forth?
Yeah, happy to do that, Chris. So again, Russ Nieland, I've been in the business for 23 years. And grew up in Western Iowa on a farm and attended Central College in Pella, and then graduated, got my degree from the University of Nebraska in Omaha. I'm on the other end of the spectrum in that I've got 2 sons that are 34 and 31, and so we've already helped them through this process, and I'm thankful I don't have them at home because I'm pretty sure I would fail as a stay-at-home parent and teacher. Yeah, a lot of kudos to those. Just interesting times for everybody. So appreciate you all taking time to join us.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. And so Kelly and I have had the pleasure of kind of getting to know each other over the past 6-7 months or so, and have some mutual connections. And I've been very intrigued with the work Kelly's doing, and especially with kind of our new normal with the COVID environment. And there's a lot of change going on in the college landscape, and so we're excited to just kind of get an update from Kelly, see what's going on, and I'm sure I'll be taking notes as well as everybody else. So Kelly, you want to maybe give a little background on your business and kind of
Sure.
what you were doing previously and now where you're at today?
Yes, I would love to. So I'm from Cedar Rapids, grew up in Cedar Rapids, went to public school here, and then I started at Kirkwood, and I finished a business degree at Coe College. After that business degree, I decided to follow my passion, which was math. So I've been a math teacher for 25 years as a high school teacher and a college professor. I was in the department at Loras College in Dubuque, and my claim to fame there was I was the only woman in the department. And so I learned a lot at that time. But test prep has always been my passion because when I got to the University of Iowa, I did a master's degree in math there as a young mother. Tough degree. I was challenged there. And I realized I was not the smartest person in the room. So at that time, I started reaching out for a tutor. I started these strategies. So a lot of what we teach the kids now are things that worked for me at the University of Iowa. And then after I got done with a master's degree, I decided, well, I would like to find out about teaching. So I have a PhD in education from the University of Iowa in teaching and learning. And my specialty, again, is math ed and the brain in learning. So how does the brain learn? What will it pay attention to? What will it not pay as much attention to? So FinnPREP, this is our 8th year in business. I'm very happy. A lot of businesses don't make it that long, so I'm very grateful. And it's really a coaching, accountability, test prep business. We began the business, I did, specializing in ACT prep. And that created a lot of really good referrals. Basically, in the beginning, it was based on referral. A few things that are different about FinnPREP to other test prep companies: we document the actual score that the kid receives at the ACT. My background is in research. I coordinated programs at the University of Iowa, so I'm very data oriented. So we will follow up and find out the score. Now, for 6 years, we've had an average 5-point score increase. And of course, that means money. And not only does it mean money, but it means a lot of times I see the kids raise their confidence level when their score increases. So it's motivation, relieving test anxiety if they have that. Just a lot of different issues come together, and we have a number of ways we do that. We look at it holistically, and we customize it for each child. So we're your individual coach, right, and support person, and we stick with you up until test date. We do not go away. Most test prep companies, as you may know, they have a class or some kind of session, and then the student is to go off and do that. So Sunday night is score night at FinnPREP. So that's when we receive our scores from the kids. And, you know, we do pre and post testing during the session. We only meet with the teens 4 times, which people are like, wow, only 4 times. Yes. We prep each test at each meeting because these teenagers now and pre-COVID are very busy. They have sports, as Dan's daughter does, as Sean's son does, as Cullum does. They're very busy. They have a job. They have many things going on. So we meet with them 4 times. And often during that 2-hour space, we can show an increase. I mean, 90% of the time, there's going to be a score increase. And the important part about a score increase early is I can sit with a kid and I can say, hey, Russ, I know you can increase your score, right? But the brain sort of says, well, maybe. But by engaging them with materials at a deeper level, the students, Russ sees that on the paper, and the brain pays attention to that. Now, with COVID, what's happened since March here and schooling, a lot of kids are at home at school. And, you know, at this age, they can get off track. Who can't get off track, right? So they're maybe in a Zoom meeting with their teacher, and they need some individual attention. And that's what we give students. We help keep them accountable to a study plan, and we stick by them throughout the process. So COVID has really increased our business because we have a lot of kids at home now who have less support. Mom and dad have to work. Mom and dad are not always available to help them with a question they might have over some content. So we do AP test counseling and tutoring, and we do tutoring in many areas, mainly high school. I have done gifted younger kids. I rarely do that right now.
Okay.
It's a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks for Kelly. Sorry, getting a little feedback there. Let's see here. So tell us a little bit about the landscape of, you know, where we're at today with the ACT and COVID and just maybe
Sure.
higher education in general, you know, trends you're seeing or, you know, things you're seeing.
Yes, with COVID coming on, particularly with the ACT, we have some colleges who have went ACT optional. And that's exactly what it means. You can submit an ACT or not. But if you're looking for merit aid, they need a way to determine how your student stands out from another student. So often colleges they use your GPA and your ACT, and they create a percentile rank from that. So if they don't have the other part of that data, you may not get the merit aid you're looking for, if that's what you're looking for. So it is still very important. We had some high scores yesterday from September. We had a 33 and a 32. A 33 at the University of Iowa puts you in running for a presidential scholarship, which is free tuition. That's a major money opportunity. And so we love to make families happy, and they're always happy with high scores. So we do have some students and colleges who have went test optional because of COVID, because the colleges need students and want students to enroll. But you are leaving them with less data if you do that. If you do not require merit aid or financial aid, then you can leave that off, is what my suggestion would be. Now, we partner with many college admission counselors, and so I get my information from them.
Yeah. So even though, it's been kind of publicized, this ACT optional, that may or may not be true depending on, where you are, what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Exactly. Do we have
Hey,
questions? I thought it was
yeah,
questions.
I was going to say, Sean had a question. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay, so I don't anticipate my son will be one that is getting any merit scholarships, just put it that way. He's a great kid, but school, he was more focused on sports than he was probably on academics the first 3 years. And so he is scheduled for like the ACTs in October, and like time test taking has never been, he's not someone, I've given him practice tests, but he's also 17, and I'm not going to force like him to do stuff that he's just not going to commit to probably, but we are scheduled. And I remember, I think we had talked like, cause the only schools he's applied to as of right now are Iowa and Kirkwood doesn't require the ACT test. And then Iowa, we thought was one that might've been like, may not be required, but I guess my question is, if our concern is like, maybe he's not going to have an exceptional score on it, does it hurt him more than benefit him to submit that, like to take the test? And then like, if Iowa's like, well, gosh, we see that he's got these other things he did, and he was a average student and maybe has potential, but then like say he doesn't test well, could that hurt him in the long run versus just not submitting at all and then just going off of grades and potential?
Okay, a very good question. Yes, it reminds me of my own son. My son was captain of the football team at Xavier. Football, and a few girls along the way too. But he was not into academics. And so Thomas's GPA was middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
But that can mean the ACT is actually more important. Okay. Because then you can set yourself apart with the ACT. And when I was a college professor, the GPA, we don't know if there's been grade inflation done, Sean. We're not familiar with the high school. We don't know anything about that. But we can compare among scores for the ACT. It's a norm standardized test. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest, yes, he takes it. And I would suggest, yes, he preps. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we do at FinnPREP, is help him prep. Mm-hmm. So whether you go with someone like us or you find someone else, the preparation is very important. Mm-hmm. And it can help him. Now, this is a fact that a lot of people are not aware of. Prior to COVID, the average ACT score at the University of Iowa of admitted students is 26. And a lot of parents are surprised by that. The University of Iowa is the toughest of the 3 state schools to get into. Mm-hmm. UNI tends to be the easiest school to get into. So that needs to go into your decision as well. Mm-hmm. And, when we help people with college admissions, which we do, we prepare materials, do the Common App for you, give you interview tips, and so on and so forth. We go through a process of helping you decide on the colleges that are the best fit for your teen. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So I would say if you're thinking because of various, when is this date in October?
It's at the end of the month. I think it's like the 26th or something like that. It's at Marion.
Okay. Well, you have a whole month then. Mm-hmm. He has a whole month. And I know with teens, I've worked with them my whole life, that they always say, well, I don't have enough time. I don't have this. I don't have that. But again, procrastination is really about emotions more than time. Mm-hmm. It's about some maybe anxiety. And we do work with students often on anxiety because they have some past experience where this didn't work out very well for me on a test. right? So they remember that, of course, right? So that's part of what we help, and confidence building, because I have found in my own academic work, it's a lot like sports. You don't go into a football game, Russ, right, thinking you're going to lose. You go in thinking you're going to win, right? And you have a plan, and you have trained, and you are ready to go. I may not look tough, but I can be extremely tough academically. I know I look like somebody's grandma, right? But I'm Irish, and I just do not give up. I mean, I just do, no matter what, I don't give up. And so that's what we teach the kids too. And that is such a life skill, because throughout life, things are going to happen that you wish had not happened, right? Whether it's a job loss, a relationship, whatever it might be, not getting into the college you want. It's really that resilience. What do we do with that, right? That counts. Not that it's not going to happen, because it happens to everyone some way. So we toughen people up a bit, emotionally, I would say. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly. I had a couple of questions, and one just from a real life personal experience. You know, when I was not a great test taker in high school or college. And then when I got out into the real world and had to take some tests for designations and such, it was the first time somebody really taught me how to evaluate the question to get to an appropriate answer. And I was like, God, if I would have known this when I was younger, it would have been a huge help. And so, you know, again, for whatever that's worth to the parents that are out there that are evaluating this type of a service, you know, again, just speaking from my own experience, it certainly would have helped me, I think, score a little bit better on a test like the ACT or the SAT. So I have a couple questions. In your experience, what have been the major contributors to test performance testing?
You mean nationally or individually, Russ? I'm not sure.
Yeah, individually, what are you finding with the people, the teams that you're meeting with? What is it that's contributing to either underperformance or overperformance?
Confidence, anxiety, procrastination. Also, you know, I've done this with hundreds of students. You know, they know mom and dad want them to get this score, right? They understand that, so they're stressed. So I think stress does that as well. And we will help with that as well. For example, we set a score goal for a young person. Let's say it's 30. Now, let's say they've taken the test before and they have a 23. Well, the mind is on that 23. It remembers all that, you know, the past. It remembers the past. So I'll have them write this 30 on a piece of paper 50 times, right? Because part of it is we're breaking down this resistance. People have some resistance. They don't understand really what they're capable of, like you. If you had an understanding of what was, you know, and we do the problem types. We break things down into problem types. Basically what I am is I'm a test hack. And I went in and figured out the fastest way to work the problems. I don't write test books. There's a lot of test books out there that are great. I'm a test hack. And so we teach the kids the fastest way to work the problems. And so therefore, indirectly, we're working on that anxiety and confidence because their confidence is building, right? As they see that score increasing. Like, hey, maybe this lady is right, right? Maybe this, you know, maybe I really can do this. So most people can score at a much higher level than what they're aware of. And that is my take on performance. And this, you know, this is in the performance of peak performance. How do we get a peak performance out of someone? I
was just going to say.
Did I answer that? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in. I think I've had a very similar experience to what Russ has said. And, you know, we both have sat for our CFPs, our Certified Financial Planning designations, which is kind of one of the, I think, most difficult tests I've ever taken in my life. But, you know, it's funny, as I prepped for that and took some courses, a lot of it was not about necessarily the content or how smart you are or knowing it. A lot of it was about how to prepare for the test, how to take the test, and I think that's kind of what you're saying,
Yes.
Kelly. A lot of
Yes.
the success in the ACT has a lot to do with just being prepared for the test in and of itself, let alone the content. There's kind of two parts there to taking that exam.
Oh, yes. We send out instructions to parents the week of the test because this was a couple years ago. This client is the CEO of a credit union here. I had prepped her daughter. Everything was great. The afternoon of the ACT, I got an email from her and she said, Kelly, I dropped the ball. I'm like, what happened? She said, I forgot to take her to the ACT. I was with my board and, I felt terrible because, it was just a mess. But so now we do a lot of reminding and updating. That's part of our service as well for parents because parents are very busy. And they want that personal service. They want to talk to me when they have a question. And so that's a big part. And I've learned that over the years. That's a big part of our business. So we look at problem types, Russ, to address your question. And Chris, and also, when you've trained for something, when you've prepared, you have a little more oomph when you go in there that day. You've done your best to prepare, right? So you're ready to take care of business. This is getting a teenager ready to be in college. It's college prep. It's not only ACT prep, but it's sort of college life prep, right? We do our work, we show up early, we have our tools, and we're ready to go. Right?
Kelly, I have a follow-up question then. As you're looking at counseling the student, and you're looking, we're very fortunate in the Midwest where not only do we have great state schools of all levels in Iowa, whether it's Iowa State, UNI, but also some of the privates and liberal arts schools. The Central Colleges, the Wartburgs, the Luthers, the Co. As you're counseling the kids, what are the things that you're looking for in them or waiting to hear from them as they evaluate? Because I think a lot of times it's those private schools that they get overlooked because of the price tag shock, but yet the reality isn't always, what's on paper. It can oftentimes make it as affordable, if not more affordable than the state schools. So just your thoughts on trends you're seeing.
Yes, I have a client a year ago who came to me, 2 points on the ACT was going to save him $11,000 a year at Cole College. Well, that's a lot of money. We're talking almost $50,000. So the private schools offer more scholarship. And the way the idea of this business came to me, Russ, when I was at Loris, I had a work study student. And we were in my office one day and we were filing papers and doing stuff. And she just mentioned to me offhandedly that she didn't pay any money at all to go to Loris. And I think at that time their full price tag was $43,000. And so I said, how did you do that? She said, well, I have very high ACT, very high GPA. And again, I got that in my mind. I thought, wow, and as long as she keeps that certain GPA, you can have a great deal at a private college. And you can go for almost the same price that you would go at a public college. So it really depends on the student. And often families have ideas where they want their young person to go. Maybe mom or dad went there. And so I have a couple girls right now we're working with in college admission. They want to go to Northwestern because both of their fathers graduated from Northwestern. Okay, we have students at Notre Dame, I have a student at Stanford. So sometimes a family has the idea already. And so we certainly go with that. But often if there's not an idea, a kid who is quiet, very studious, I'm probably going to sound biased here, they might do better at a small private college, right? Whereas a student who's a little more gregarious and kind of whatever might do better at a University of Iowa, because at the University of Iowa, you're not going to get as much attention. I was there for many years. I worked there. I was a graduate. It's hard to get attention as a grad student, right? Let alone as an undergrad. So It depends on the temperament of the kid and what the family is thinking about. Right. Did I answer that?
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
You bet.
Kelly,
How about Dan? Anybody
Oh,
have
go
a
ahead.
question? Yeah. Dan?
No, for me, I don't have a whole lot of questions so far. I think, you know, affirming a lot of what you're saying, the test optional, there's still a great deal of benefit to pursuing it. It's still going to be a standard for a while.
Right. You want to give them as much data as you can, particularly if the GPA, like my son, was not stellar. Because I used to tell, I did a group from Prairie about 3 or 4 years, I said, this is your way to become golden, okay? If you're willing to work and do the work, you can improve your application materials with this. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, great.
Any other questions? Sean?
No, I'm good. I'm going to follow up with my son and just chat with him a little bit more and go from there.
Great, wonderful.
Hey, Kelly, I
Hey,
know.
Kelly,
Oh.
I'll ask this question real quick, sorry.
Sure.
For those who may have younger students that are on the call, how do you believe COVID-19 may impact the resiliency of maybe some of the younger students versus some of the older students?
Can you hear that okay, Kelly?
I did. So I can, yeah, what I have heard from parents, that the younger students, you know, they can't be connected to a Zoom session all day long. That's not going to work, of course, and they know that. But you know, having smaller sessions for younger people is very important. So maybe a 20-minute Zoom session where the teacher teaches something and then they do their work on their own. And then later we have another 20-minute session. Young kids do not have the attention span that we do. Although Zoom meetings all day is not good for your attention span, right? But so I think that the resiliency, and part of what FinnPREP offers, if people want that, is the accountability and an individual coach. Whereas you have a teacher who might have 20, 25 students on the call. Whereas we're your individual person, right? We're your mama, your daddy, and, you know, your support person. And often in some of my customer discovery, what parents mentioned is when kids are teenagers, that can be a time when they're not talking to mom and dad as much. My son loved the 2 words, yes and no. Okay, and I couldn't get much more out of him. Yes, no, right? So, you know what I mean? So having a third person come in sometimes is helpful. And I like to talk, and I like kids. So at this age, and a teenager, often they're not communicating as often as maybe they were before. So I think their resiliency, we're going to see, this is an experiment, Russ, of course we're in right now. Yeah. And, you know, my granddaughter is 8 years old, and she has went back to school, and often that's what they're doing with the younger people at most schools. They have back to in-person classes that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and where that question came from, I was reading an article by a futurist, and something that she had commented was that they see the younger generation becoming very resilient relative to some of the older kids, just because of this whole time, and that, you know, they're going to fight through it and they're going to learn and adapt very quickly. So
I'm glad to hear that. Great. So I think I'm more of an optimist. I think good is coming out of this. It just is yes, Lynn just came in. We're raising survivors. Yes, we are raising survivors. And they're going to have to survive in a different world than what we were brought up. We had 3 TV stations when I was young. That's how old I am. Okay. So anyway, yeah. Any other questions?
Hey, Kelly, Chris here, and I know we've talked offline a little bit about this, but I think it'd be helpful just for anybody that hears this discussion today. You know, we're parents of a couple of children that have disabilities like dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADHD, you know, et cetera. And I know there's a ton of us out there and a ton of kids, you know, with those sorts of issues. Can you talk a little bit about how your services might be able to help, you know, students that are kind of struggling with some of those things that, and utilizing you as a resource?
Yes, you bet. I have a lot of contacts, and I have tutors that specialize in those areas. And of course, I'm on the call too in the beginning, but I have tutors that, you know, now that we're in Zoom, I will bring in a tutor that will fit what is needed for that child, right? So that will be their individual tutor. I am not trained in that area myself, but when I've had students who have anxiety, of course, confidence issues, anxiety, just being really patient pays off a lot, right? Just being very patient with someone and understanding, right? And that, you know, all of my coaches are moms and dads themselves. And that is a requirement I have right now. That's probably, I probably shouldn't do that. I mean, that's probably biased, but I prefer that my coaches are moms or dads, have been a mom or dad.
Great.
Does that answer that? Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, hey, I know we're at 30 minutes here. Kelly, do you want to talk a little bit about how if people want to get in touch with you or follow you or whatever, where they can do that at?
Sure. Yes, my email is Kelly, just my name, Kelly, at FinnPREP, FinnPREP.com. That is a way to contact me. I have a LinkedIn business page. I have a personal page on LinkedIn. I have a personal page on Facebook and a business page on Facebook. My website is just www.FinnPREP.com. You can see a lot more information about me and the services we provide. And Lynn just put it in the chat as well. So I would love, you know, it's really, I love helping young people because I know the difference this can make. When I got that master's degree in math, that raised my confidence quite a bit because then I realized that, yes, I can do this.
Yeah,
right.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that. And if you'd like to get in touch with Russ or I, you can visit our website at www.carsonwealth.com. We've got a lot of good information, articles, etc., and you can learn more about our team on there. We're also located in Cedar Rapids, out of the Mott building, right next to the Cedar Rapids Police Department. And like I said, we specialize in holistic financial planning and would enjoy any conversations. You can also find us on all the social media outlets as well. Feel free to follow us. We've got a lot of, there's a lot going on in the financial planning world today, especially when it comes to tax law and retirement planning and estate planning. So if you'd like to have a conversation around that, we would really enjoy that. So thank you for listening today. Kelly, thanks again. And Sean, Dan, Colin, thanks for joining in on the conversation. Appreciate your questions. And yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean, Dan. Great to see you. Colin,
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.